Hi everyone, I'm Fox 35, Storm Team Meteorologist Ian Cassette with a check of the tropics, and we now have our first hurricane of the season, Hurricane Beryl, which has continued to intensify today with favorable conditions. You can see it here as the sun begins setting on it that there are a number of storms that have tried developing around the center of circulation, which is a sign of intensification. It has had a good venting. Basically, the storms are building and expanding outward, and that process is just going to snowball here. So Hurricane Beryl now, as of the 5 o'clock advisory, 75 mile per hour winds moving west at 22 miles per hour. The pressure has dropped now to 992 millibars. So this is a rare, strong storm. Just to remind you, we don't typically see many hurricanes in the month of June, and we are forecast to see a major hurricane here in June, potentially by tomorrow, and that would be only the third time that has happened in recorded history. So with Hurricane Beryl, it is going to continue moving westward and likely a Category 3 storm as it approaches Barbados and the Windward Islands. If you know anyone that lives out in those islands, Martinique, down to St. Kitts, Trinidad and Tobago should be south of this system. It's not a very large system, so its effects where the strongest winds will thankfully only be a very small area. So it may miss Barbados, for example, the strongest winds if it goes farther to the south. But anyone that lives in the Windward Islands are going to be under the gun here with strong winds and surf as that storm, a major hurricane, moves through before entering the Caribbean. And from there, expected to maintain a major hurricane status south of Puerto Rico, south of Hispaniola, but it could brush by, if it takes a more northerly path, the most southern part of the Dominican Republic and also into Haiti, and eventually leading to hurricane conditions in Jamaica and also the Cayman Islands. From there, things are a bit more uncertain. The National Hurricane Center has highlighted that there is plenty of uncertainty in the long term here. It does look like the conditions should weaken it, but overall, we don't know for sure what's going to happen. But what we do know is that the storm is going to continue to intensify over warm ocean temperatures. These are ocean temperatures we typically see in August or even September, which, if we're that far ahead, that's why we're seeing this unprecedented system. With it likely become a hurricane no later than Monday, and then bringing those dangerous conditions to the Windward Islands, it's going to we're going to have to watch this very closely, not just for the islands, but as it goes farther to the northwest. You see it here. The ocean heat content is hot. It is well above average, and that is why we cannot ignore this. We've seen in recent years with absurdly warm ocean temperatures that does help these storms. It is fuel for the fire, and that is the case here. Now, as we look at the rarity of major storms, this is only the potentially third major storm before the 4th of July. So very, very uncommon. You have to go back to Alma, 1966, the last time that we did have a major hurricane before the 4th of July. Typically, we don't see the first major hurricane until early September. So what is steering this system? We have a high-pressure system that we'd also typically see later in the year that is acting as a blockade, sending it to the west-northwest. There will also be a bit of a high-pressure system over the southeast, so that also should do a decent job at blocking Florida. It's not guaranteed, but overall it's more likely it will continue to steer it to the west-northwest. There is a possibility it could be a weakened storm moving into the western Gulf of Mexico, but we still don't know for right now. What we do know is that, as our Fox model shows, this is an intense storm that's going to be heading to the northwest, might make its way to Grenada, so it could be a direct hit there, and just the south of St. Lucia. But this isn't a very big storm, so it does have a large wind field, tropical storm force winds farther to the north there into the Windward to Leeward Islands, and then continuing as a major hurricane staying south of Hispaniola. But that is one model again, but we could see tropical storm force winds across the Lesser Antilles and all the way up to the north, into the northwest towards Cuba. So this is going to be a long track storm that we're going to be watching here into next week. Outside of this system, we're not even done with it. We have a potential for a tropical depression, which, if it were to overperform, become a tropical storm, that could actually beat out another tropical wave that is given a 70% chance of development over the course of the next week. That might follow directly in the path of Hurricane Beryl. So we might have back-to-back storms for the Lesser Antilles here. And you'll see it here this is the American model. Shows Beryl going through, and then look at that. We could have Chris right behind it, moving again towards the Leeward Islands. something to watch for into next week. So a lot going on here. Very important to keep up to date on things. Right now, no threat to the U.S. currently, but bears watching here as we go into the first week of July. I'm Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Ian Cassette. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep checking back in.